Hi everyone, my name is Agung Suwandaru. Today I would like to present my paper on microeconomic determinant of the climate change in Southeast Asian countries. The study aimed to measure change in macroeconomic variables and energy use in the production the CO2 emission by using panel data in Southeast countries. As we know that uh, development is usually associated with the climate change and its impact, and in case developing countries, they are often accused of contributing of the drastic climate change. So this relationship between environmental and economic development still remain debatable. This paper used the 5 countries in ASEAN, namely Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, Singapore, and Thailand. And the economic development of these countries are relatively stable and positive. The panel data used from 1965 until 2020. And something that interesting for this research is because it takes sample too long for the developing country with economic prospect and involvement in creating sustainable development and reducing world emission. Furthermore, the long sampling from this period, 1965 until 2020, will be able to capture these countries, 5 countries in ASEAN, for their contribution to climate change as a result of their economic activities. The analysis, we use the fixed effect and random effect was carried in 5 countries. We use the STIRPAD, the stochastic impact by creation on population and technology methods. The STIRPAD is most famously a method in energy measurement. According to the data, you can see here the model is a CO2 equality function, GDP, urban, and energy. The population variable we use the urbanization because the motor of the economy of developing country is in movement of people from village to the cities. For the affluence, we use the GDP per capita because the GDP is a proxy of the development economy and representing the macroeconomic variable in this study. And the using of the macroeconomic is appropriate because it's cover all the overall economic calculation with a particular time. And the technology use, we use the energy use, and the climate change, we use the CO2 emission as a proxy. For the result, we can see the table of the panel unit test. In here, we use a 2-panel unit test, Levin Lin Chu and H3LM. The table 1 in here or unit root test show that Levin Lin Chu test the variable of the CO2 and urban are stationary at level. On the other hand, the GDP and energy variable are stationary in the first difference. The H3, on the other hand, show that all variables are stationary at the level. Next table is the fixed effect and random effect. We can see here that the Hausman test that determine the most suitable method for the both fixed effect or random effect. The Hausman decide the fixed effect method become reference following the variables of interest used. And furthermore, I'll adjust only the explain. I'll explain only for the fixed effect recreation according to the Hausman test. The fixed effect result so that all variables like GDP, urbanization, energy use, a significant relationship with the development director on climate change variables. The GDP per capita variable has a negative and significant relationship with CO2 emission. That means that this results, every increase on GDP will reduce the amount of the CO2 emission, or this result support the Kuznets hypothesis in context of Southeast Asia. Moreover, the urbanization has a significant and positive effect on increasing CO2 emission. The migration of the rural population from urban for better life, matched with adequate urban infrastructure in selected Southeast Asian countries. Lastly, for the results, the energy use variable has significant and positive effect on this increasing CO2 emission. This result indicate that the use of energy in Southeast Asia is still not efficient. The last chapter is a conclusion. We have the 8th point for the conclusion. Firstly, Southeast country has relatively stable macroeconomic macro development in this country are tested their impact on climate change as consequence of the Kyoto Protocol to support the sustainable development target. Third, this study takes the variable of GDP, urbanization, and energy use as a representation of the macroeconomic variables, and energy use as the affluence effect on the climate change. Fourth, the fixed effect results show that the Kuznets hypothesis occurrence on the several countries, Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, Singapore, and Thailand. Fifth, this result can be interpreted as economic development in this country in a certain point reduce the CO2 emission. However, here is different. The impact of the economic development, namely urbanization, has positive impact or effect on worsen the climate change. Six, the negative impact of the urbanization reflect the lack of the urban planning in dealing with population movement from rural to the urban areas. Seven, in the future, the policymakers should be aware of the increasing number of the urban residents by providing the adequate infrastructure for the urban communities, and no less important, namely good urban planning. Lastly, eight, inefficient energy use should be a concern to reduce the negative impact of climate change. ASEAN countries can start using the machine and infrastructure made from renewable raw material in their activity. The conclusion was a wrap for my presentation. Thank you for this opportunity. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Thank you.